Thank you for joining us here at ITEC for our first episode of Unpacked. Unpacked is an insider look at what it's like to be on a training in the field. This episode will give you an insider look at what it's like to be on a training in West Africa. We will be joined by 4 of our trainers, Matt, Robert, David, and Rhonda, as they unpack our recent training in West Africa.
Yeah, so we had a good week mechanical training. I mean, the students were, they participated well. They were eager to be there. And of course, you know, we had I had 2 other trainers with me. So we had an abundance of students, and having 2 other trainers was a big help. But trainings went well. You know, we had the COVID test middle of the first day. I'm sure that probably kind of messed everybody's schedule up that day, I would assume. I know it did ours.
Did ours.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think that through well.
And we never got the results.
Well, yeah, but I feel pretty good though. So, but overall, the training went well for that short day, and it kind of made us play catch up during the week. And but you know, as we always ask them to bring, you know, bikes or generators in to work on. We had, you know, well, some of you guys saw them. They were out there. We had, you know, a pile of them out there to work on. So, and even after we left, they were still working on them. In fact, I didn't think they were going to come to the graduation because they were still. I didn't think we were going to be able to pull them away, but we were able to do that. So it was a good week for us.
It was good for the medical training. The first day was a little fragmented. You know, we got there late, was pulled away. I don't even remember why we were pulled away. It wasn't for the COVID test. But we didn't start teaching till after lunch.
Right.
But the students were there at 9 when we got there. So, but after the first day, everything just kind of fell into place, and it went pretty good. We had 2 new teachers.
Wow.
Thus had never been on a trip before, but we worked really well as a team.
Wow, that's good.
This wasn't your first trip, was it?
It was a second trip. This was a great trip. It was a different group. It was Bible Institute students rather than farmers. And I think they were very alert and participated well. I think because conservation farming is kind of radically different from what they're used to. The plowing, there's no plowing, there's no chemical fertilizers, or that's discouraged. And so I think what I saw is that there was some skepticism or kind of incredible nature looks on their faces at the beginning, saying, I'm not sure if this would really work. But I think as we went through the week and the questions, and we had demonstrations, and we were outside, you know, digging holes and planting a garden, and just I think little by little they saw that this could really work and be actually an improvement over the traditional farming. So that was exciting. And I think even now with the interim time, there's 7 months that they can use to apply the skills. They're residents there at the school so that they can really have the land to practice and gain kind of a voice of experience, both successes and failures. So I thought it was a great week.
Yeah, it was a great week. I did one of the complementary parts of farming, which was Crown Financial, a workbook, because most of these people were very poor, had been getting very, very small revenue from any of the things they sold, and so we had a workbook we went through with Crown Financial that kind of was eye-opening to a lot of them about, you know, it's how to handle money, what is actually theirs and what isn't theirs, teaching that, you know, they actually, nothing is theirs. It's God is the owner of everything, and they are to be good stewards. And so it was with that that worked out real good, I think. And I think that it's going to be a big improvement in their lifestyle and their way of thinking about going around things now after this.
Yeah, I think the midweek where we broke down how much does it cost, like, to plant a field, and what can you expect for harvest, both by traditional and then with conservation farming. And we had a lot of discussion, and then finally Robert broke down the numbers and added it up, and they could see just the currency there was a tenfold increase in income if you use conservation farming versus the traditional plow and insecticides. And I think that a lot of times is a turning point in their enthusiasm that this could actually work.
Yeah. We've explained those things too, as far as the stewardship part of preventative maintenance. So we ask them, what maybe a motorcycle cost, and then how long, of a lifespan can you expect from it. And then, we compare that to the cost of, filter changes and oil changes and keeping maintenance done up on a bike and the projected longevity of that. And they have a hard time grasping that because it's not part of their culture, preventative maintenance. So, and it's stewardship, it's the same thing, right? So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see that.
Now our team is going to answer some randomly selected but frequently asked questions that we often receive regarding training trips.
Well, this bowl's sitting here full of questions for us, so I guess we need to get working on this.
Okay, this one says, what were your travel arrangements like, and how long were your flights or car rides?
Oh, wow.
The arrangements were great.
Yeah.
The logistics for this trip went very well. There was enough automobiles for the people. There was enough space for our luggage.
Yeah.
The timing, they picked us up on time. They brought us home on time. There were no breakdowns or flat tires. The roads were pretty pretty
that was
rough.
unbelievable.
Yeah, we had very limited layovers in the airports.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that part of our trip
Yeah.
went very well, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, 35 hours in the air, 4 flights, and I was still conscious. I think I was excited, and we were met, and then a 5-hour ride the next morning up to the site, and those were big potholes, but I think the drivers really knew what they were doing, and we kind of breezed through the checkpoints and arrived in good shape.
Well, part of the checkpoint thing was the armed folks that were with us to get us through those things.
Yeah.
So that's the first time I'd ever experienced.
Yeah.
And an armed car in front of me, seeing that we got through those things. So.
With real guns.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it.
Not the toys. Yeah.
And they were real security, because when we were going through one of the cities and we were stopped in traffic, and there was a kind of a roadblock in front of us with a couple of cars not wanting to go one way or the other and arguing about it, they got out of the cars and they cleared the traffic and made sure that we were safe traveling through.
Yeah.
And that made me feel secure. They knew what they were doing, and people respected them. They weren't just people talking.
And all week long, they were on time in the morning to get us from the hotel to the site and back, and the driver especially, just the 5-hour ride to and from the airport, he always had one arm on the window and was driving, pretty fast through there, but he knew what he was doing.
Pointing out, giving directions where everybody else needs to be when he wasn't blowing the horn.
They definitely have driven that road before.
Yeah, it was a good ride.
Okay, I'm up here. How did the trip differ from other trips? because we were all first-time training leaders. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. How did this differ? Well, Jamie was the leader of the contingent that went, and he did an excellent job. But I think that he kept us on our toes. I think we were well prepared for everything we'd done. We'd been working up to it for quite a while, so it was. I think it was different from other trips. I mean, other trips I'd been on, I was just there kind of to help. But this one, to have a real active part in it and to be responsible for teaching it, and it put more responsibility on your shoulder.
Yeah.
It was different for me because I was the first time lead trainer for the medical team, and the other trips that I'd been on, I was just a trainer, a teacher, and didn't have to worry about the team as a whole, just be part of the team. And it puts on a new level of responsibility, and
Yeah, I agree with that.
a new degree of preparation
Yeah.
before the trip. But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's what I found. That I'd been on several other as a volunteer, and I didn't really look at it from the perspective of leading it. I never did. On the other trips I was on, and so all of a sudden now I am, and yeah, there's a lot, but there's a lot which I think eventually will get a little easier, but the first time it's just all those minor details that you just others have made look very easy.
Right. I'm a recovering perfectionist, so I like to get all my ducks in a row and feel like I've got time and everything's dialed in, and that just doesn't happen. And there wasn't any fault of theirs. It's just that we hit the ground running, and we had to kind of get over to the classroom and get the materials, and sometimes they were under lock and key, and trying to find somebody who could open up to get the tools. Those were all things that kind of elevated my blood pressure for a time, but I think just trusting the Lord that these people are willing and open to learning, and they are flexible. So I think I just relaxed a little bit as the week went on, and we still had a great week, and I have a good sense of satisfaction that I think we did well, all three teams, and I'm excited to see them again in October.
I think flexible is the key.
Yes.
Even being organized and a perfectionist, and you think you know how the day's going to go and how the training's going to go, but without that flexibility, it just falls apart.
Yeah.
Well, another thing too is that you're the team leader, but you're mainly only as good as your team. And we all had good teams.
Yeah, I agree with that. I absolutely did, for sure. Alrighty, we'll see what we got here. So, this could be for all of us. And share a favorite highlight from the trip. So, there were several highlights. Probably one I remember the most and will remember the most is when I got a toilet seat. So our room didn't come equipped with one. I guess I didn't get the honeymoon suite, so it didn't have a toilet seat. And so I had requested one, I asked for one, and they wanted to move me to another room. But I had screens on the windows. My hot water heater didn't shock me. And the rest of the room looked okay. And when we had electricity, the air conditioner worked. So I wasn't going to risk losing one of those for a toilet seat.
Yeah.
But about 2 days before we left, it showed up. and I was excited. So that was a real highlight for me.
Well, thanks for sharing. We didn't have toilet seat
Yeah.
the whole
You
week.
didn't have one the entire
The
week?
whole week.
Oh.
Well, we
You're
did
an
have-
Olympian.
We did have, but it disappeared a few days into the trip.
Oh, no. No,
where you got yours.
mine was new. Or maybe they were just rotating it around.
One of my highlights was Wednesday night worship.
Hmm.
Being able to sit in that sanctuary of the chapel and listen to probably what, 800
800.
people
Yeah.
worship and worship from their heart.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that was special for me. And we had a lady bring a devotion one morning. We asked our students to volunteer the day before for the next morning to bring a devotion and maybe a bit of a testimony. So she led the class in singing, and it was beautiful.
Really?
Just beautiful.
Wow.
That was highlights for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've been praying for a Bibleist people group called the Gi'iwo since 2003, and it just so happened that one of the students in the class was actually from the area that I've been praying for. So through translation, he only spoke the trade language, but I was able to ask him briefly just what's the state of the gospel and how did he come to Christ, and that was a really special time to watch the Lord just engineer things to encourage me that, prayers make a difference.
Yeah. We, there were, like everybody else, I had several highlights. A lot of it was just being grateful for, the team we had, the students we had. I mean, it could have been, because we were populated in our classroom with students, and they all cooperated. They were very interested in learning. It was just a joy to, have a group like that. And then the other highlight after the lunches were good. The breakfast and dinner was not so good. It was same thing over and over. But to have ice cream one night, that was it.
That was money.
The ice cream did it for that week.
Yeah.
It was good.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Robert, because I'm the only one who didn't say something serious and just during this, okay? I don't want to say it, so I feel pretty good about myself now. Thanks for bailing me on that one.
All right, what have we got here? Okay, how was security for your group? That was a real concern of mine before the trip, just thinking, you let your imagination run and realizing that there are forces out there that would not be friendly. But I think from the arrival at the airport and the armed, to seeing the semi-automatic weapons in the arms of our escort, I thought, okay, that's good. And they had arranged the hotel, and the people were very accommodating and friendly. And I realized that a lot of my fears had been ungrounded. They really, I think, ITEC does a good job in anticipating, and our in-country partner had been a long-time resident there in that area of the country, so they were familiar, and it was relaxed without being cavalier. It was just wasn't a concern, that we knew we were well taken care of, and so that was my experience.
Yeah. Well, I had been there before, and so I felt, I never had really a sense of any danger. We didn't do the 5-hour drive. I'd always flown in, but anyway, I never had any. I never felt like there was any kind of problems.
No.
I didn't either. I never felt unsafe.
No.
Sometimes in countries that we go to, our partners provide an extra layer of security for our comfort, not because it's unsafe, but because we're unsure, and they provide that extra level of security. But this time I think seeing it there was an extra level of comfort for me.
I agree. especially with that long drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, then when we went through the capital city, it was a little intense in the traffic and the people mobbing
A
up.
little intense.
And,
We call it walk mart because you could just,
and the people, right up against the van and, sticking their heads in and everything. It was,
Yeah,
you felt more comfortable.
it's intense. That's a good word for it.
me.
I think we'll start go back.
What was the weather like?
Hot, dry, dusty.
Hot,
So-
dry, dusty, perfect. And the nights they cooled down at
Windy,
night.
very windy.
Yeah. We tried to get compost cooking. You add water, and usually after 2-3 days it heats up, and so they can actually see this composting happen. But it didn't, wasn't getting hot. It would dry out with the winds blowing most of the time. And we were told that the seasons are changing, but that was kind of a learn by doing, note to self, maybe this isn't the best time to make compost, but at least they got the experience. And they even sent a video of them turning the compost again, and it's still
Really?
cooking, yeah. So they're really taking it to heart, but we finally said, let's wait until the rains start, and that skill probably will have better success.
But there was always that orange cloud, that haze. And at night, when you left your windows open, you could feel that, or I could anyway.
Gritty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, our partner said we saw the Sahara and didn't even have to go there. They was blowing
Well, it
in.
came to us. Oh, was this it? All right. Oh, boy. All right.
I knew that one.
So, what kinds of food did we eat?
Spicy.
Well,
Dinners at the hotel were spicy. They alternated between spicy rice and spicy spaghetti.
yep.
I didn't recognize the spices, being from California, I'm used to Mexican hot, but they were different hot spices.
I think cayenne was a big thing.
Was that it?
I think
Yeah,
so.
we had either spicy rice with spicy fish, or, with spicy chicken, or, it was just mixed back and forth every day.
So let's clear. So for lunch, it was awesome,
Lunch was great.
right? Yeah, eating at where we trained.
Yeah, taking pictures of the desserts.
That was awesome. So every day was predictable. I mean, right? Did you have the same thing every morning?
Yeah.
What was it? What do we have in the mornings?
We had bread, not toast, bowl of oatmeal, and a salty scrambled egg.
Right. Or omelet, as I think they call it, an omelet. But yeah, that was every morning, correct?
Yeah.
Except for the last morning.
It was a free.
Yeah, it was complimentary.
That was really a nice gesture. That we got a lot more variety. I don't remember all that we got.
Well, that's what I'm after. What did we
I
have?
think it was leftovers from the week.
Surely not.
We had oatmeal,
Surely it wasn't
eggs, and
leftovers.
bread, and fish, and spaghetti.
Yeah, spaghetti, fish, oatmeal, eggs, bread.
The ice cream was a nice gesture.
No.
They worked hard. I could tell they must have really, searched for getting ice cream. That was really
I don't think it was a
appreciated.
usual treat for them because they didn't want to put it in the freezer. They wanted,
Yeah.
and when
yeah.
it came down the
So
next
what-
night, it was already sitting on the counter.
So
out of the
how large were the containers everyone got? How would you say?
About a quart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was big.
That was a
A lot
lot.
of ice cream.
I mean,
we didn't finish it.
It
yeah,
had strawberries or chocolate on the bottom.
right. Yeah, so it was a lot, and you couldn't eat it all. So, but we got 2 good meals out of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I gained weight. I got 3 more pounds. I was heavier than I got back. So.
all right.
Well, it was a good week.
Yeah, I think it was, Robert. We had a good week.
Was I the only one that had volunteers outside of ITEC? No, Joel. Joel was a
Right.
volunteer outside of ITEC.
Right.
Well, I
Yeah.
asked Ellen and Jan in our debrief for just the medical department, would you consider going on another ITEC training
Right.
trip? And they both said, yes, without a doubt, they would love to go.
Oh, good to hear.
And so I think all in all, I think it went well, not just for the ITEC team, but for the volunteers that went too. Because they were first timers as well.
Right, right. And that's the thing. I mean, in the end, it's, as the students or trainees keeping these skills fresh and using them, on a daily or at worst weekly basis, So that's kind of, I guess that's my kind of concluding thoughts about, praying for those things and keeping those students, aware that, skills you learn have to be used or you'll lose them for sure. So.
And the potential impact for eternity, the gospel. And these people have been called by God to, share the gospel as missionaries in their own communities and want to take skills that will help open doors to the gospel, mechanics or community health or farming. And I thought, what a privilege to be involved in that.
Well, you were talking about, being a lead trainer, and for me, that's the gravity of it. Is, there's people, eternity, for some people could be at stake here, and it's a big responsibility. I mean, I know God is able to clean up my messes when I maybe don't talk so clear or explain something well. I get that. But still, I have to do my part. And that's the gravity of it for me. That's the weight I feel during these trainings is someone being delivered out of captivity into freedom. Man, that's it for me.